Since commencing operations in August 2009, the CARICOM Development Fund, or the CDF, has been providing financial and technical assistance to disadvantaged countries, regions, and its sectors in member states of the Caribbean Community, participating in the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, or CSME, under 2 programming cycles. The CDF's mandate is the reduction of disparities among and within CARICOM member states, which may result from the implementation of the CSME. Helping countries to address disadvantages within member states existing before the implementation of the CSME, as well as the impact of adverse economic and public health shocks. This video takes a look at the CDF's work in 3 CARICOM territories: Belize, Guyana, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In Belize, the CDF provided US $315,000 to the government to expand the country's honey industry. There were 90 beneficiaries of the project, and it is estimated that by December of 2023, Belize should boast upwards of 360 new apiaries.
The approach to CDF for that, so some support to start what would be deemed a sort of pilot force at attracting new blood into the industry. So what the project basically sought to do was to provide financing to build capacity among youth, women in particular, and those existing beekeepers who needed some support.
The subsector was on the decline. The production was very low compared to how it was in previous years.
I'm Shala Leslie, and you are at Farmed to Perfection.
My name is Elton Cantun. I'm from San Jose Nuevo Palmar.
My name is Beatriz Gonzalez. I started with a new project funded by CDF.
My name is Marco Mas. I have my apiary out in Cristo Rey Village, Cayo District.
This is Country Dream Farm, located in the Banana Bank area, just a mile from Valley of Peace, and I'm a new beekeeper.
They were taught the basic of beekeeping best practices. That's number 1, very, very key. And also the different management practices that come with rearing bees, requeening, separation, feeding, harvesting, marketing. So all of these different topics were taught to the beekeepers.
Once some of the impediments that exist in the region now to the trade of honey across CARICOM, once these are removed, we expect that Belize honey producers will benefit tremendously. But it was also done in anticipation that the export opportunities would open up over time, and we would have built the production capacity to allow the country to meet, to take advantage of these export opportunities.
The addition of those hives, really helped the business to grow. It also helped in experience, because I could live 40 years and I won't know enough about beekeeping.
Through the CDF's funding, small and medium-sized enterprises in Belize across sectors such as tourism, manufacturing, agriculture, and services have had access to affordable financing options to improve their export readiness, competitiveness, and ultimately boost employment levels. This was made possible through 2 lines of credit to the Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, totaling US $8 million.
CDF has been a key stakeholder, a key partner in allowing the DFC to develop and to meet our strategic goals and our responsibilities in Belize.
We can say that the same money is being used by the farmers, by the small farmers, to continue upgrading their operations by purchasing quality breed bulls, quality breeding heifers, purchasing of their equipment, which is trailers, tractors. So we can see that the foreign exchange or the operations actually had a very good impact in the Belizean economy itself.
What we did was stipulate that the DFC cannot lend beyond a certain interest rate, right? And that has brought that particular line is significantly lower than many lines of credit in the Development Finance Corporation. Many poor people can borrow at much lower rates.
We focus on SMEs, small, medium enterprises. And that particular line of credit is developing, particularly because of our Empowered Business Loan, which focuses on women and youth. At the DFC, we're the only institution that has a gender policy.
One of the things that mattered to me when I moved back to Belize from Canada was I saw the opportunity for diversification. And that was one of the things that when I worked with DFC, they were very open to the fact that I am looking to turn my shrimp farm not only into an aquaculture production facility, but also into an agritourism facility and a facility for education.
From a national standpoint, the government's agenda is to basically help to build small, medium enterprises.
We expect to be able to get more products and support from CDF, but I would hope or expect that a year from now when the CDF looks at the DFC, we could be an example to the other banks in the region of how to work with the CDF to get things done.
They have been fulfilling that mandate thus far, and I expect to see them doing much more in the future.
In addition to sector-specific projects, the CDF has helped to strengthen ministries and public sector organizations in Belize, focused on developing businesses and promoting trade and investment. The National Investment Policy and Strategy, also known as NIPS, is one such initiative. It seeks to accelerate economic growth through the involvement of a vibrant private sector. The objective of the NIPS is to improve the business climate and facilitate domestic and foreign investment in the short to medium term, thereby leading to robust economic growth.
There always have to be a framework for which, the private sector and others in an economy operate. And this is where government comes in, and this is where projects such as NIPS is very helpful because it helps with that structure in terms of identifying, what type of investment we want to pursue over a period of time, along with consultations from the private sector.
You had fragmented pieces of legislation, fragmented pieces of policies. And so there was a need, looking at the environment and the fact that we were hearing about challenges from investors. The discussion started, and there was a concept that was developed, shared with CDF, CARICOM Development, for possible funding.
Once those matters were addressed, the roadmap would create the pathway for better results by the member states in attracting those investments.
There's one word that comes to mind when we talk about the business community in Belize, and it's resiliency. We've seen this, in several periods throughout the last 30 years, but probably none more so than after the effects of COVID.
This is supposed to bring about a transformation in terms of our investment value chain, within this country, to bring greater foreign direct investments, even joint ventures with local investors for the country. And I must emphasize that it's not only large enterprises, it's also we're looking at how the micro can benefit, the small can benefit, and the medium enterprise can benefit.
Belize is a good example of how, the public sector executing agencies can work efficiently with a regional institution like ourselves in ensuring that the projects are implemented as a partnership so that there's no delay in implementation and that the projects ultimately achieve their objectives. So we've often looked towards Belize as a sort of model that the other countries should try to follow.
In Guyana, the CDF helped to fund the Rural Agricultural Infrastructure Development Project, or RAID project, which included the construction of 31.04 kilometers of all-weather access roads at a cost of US $11.82 million. This aspect of the project resulted in improved access to farmlands for 9,500 farming households and over 35,000 people, leading to enhanced and sustainable agricultural production. Guyana's Ministry of Agriculture projected that agricultural production in some targeted areas increased by at least 20%.
The RAID program is a very important program not only for Guyana but the entire CARICOM region, because in Guyana we have a number of areas that are benefiting or that are benefited from this program. And these programs are important because in countries like Guyana and the rest of the Caribbean that need development, that now we are pushing to develop the infrastructure so that we can be more responsive to the needs of the farmers. Programs like these will help countries like Guyana a lot to modernize and develop their infrastructure.
Now we have like about 15 trucks coming here to buy produce. So you don't see produce in the farm anymore here.
Growing up, my father used to go to the market using boat. I recall like middle in the night, like 12, I used to have to assist them. It was very hard. So now we get the road. That's an ease. That's an ease, yeah. Life is getting better, yeah. Now we don't even go to the market. The people come with a vehicle, then when we don't make our produce, they come and collect in the afternoon, morning, any hour, and that's it.
So you have around the perimeter of this huge swath of land, a canal and a drainage system. But inside, where you have it broken or disaggregated into smaller farms, there was no drainage and irrigation.
I think there was a significant impact. For instance, the most important one is not the physical aspect of it, it's the renewed hope that many of the farmers would have had when they saw that they could now go to their farms and do work. Farmers who would otherwise have been just planting on what we call the dams or the roadside were able to go into their farms and do significant things.
The RAID project included the rehabilitation of drainage, irrigation systems, and access dams in Buxton Moko, as well as Triumph in Region 4, in addition to Ithaca in Region 5. Through the project, 800 acres of land were cleared, and 700 acres were brought into production. Like other CDF-funded projects, this project was gender inclusive, with women accounting for 55% of the beneficiaries.
I was been into farming after I finished university in 2015. I didn't get no job, so my mother said we're going to go into business, me and her, and we did all of this here.
The new irrigation helped me a great lot in terms of drainage and irrigation. In every crop I plant, my yield is increased. I would like to thank the CARICOM Development Fund and the Ministry of Agriculture of Guyana for putting in such an effort into farming, especially in Ithaca, because we didn't have it. So I want to thank them so much.
Before, I used to be farming in my backyard, kitchen garden, and since the project came aboard, I was encouraged because people know that I like farming.
The RAID project gave us an opportunity to gain some experience working with an MDC which is large in size, even if relatively small in population size. And therefore, it gave us an opportunity to address disadvantage at the regional level, like regions within a country. Guyana has now reassumed, if you like, its leadership role in addressing the region's food security needs. We have the RAID project and the successor project to that, the Drainage and Irrigation Infrastructure project, as practical examples of how the CDF can contribute to assisting the region's food security, food and nutrition security agenda by working with the country that has the lead responsibility for that mandate in CARICOM.
The construction of the Argyle International Airport in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is one of the first interventions undertaken by the CDF in a CSME member state. The CDF was one of the early funders of the airport project. In September 2010, the CDF approved the first set of funds to cover the cost of a stone crushing plant, quarrying, and base placing equipment, including dump trucks, compactors, asphalt rollers, as well as all the navigation lighting.
When the government decided in 2005 to build the Argyle International Airport, naturally, as one of the countries and one of the members of the CARICOM Development Fund, we recognize that there is an opportunity for us to get some help from the CDF. And as the way we structure the funding of the Argyle International Airport, we identified a particular component of the area of construction that we felt that the CARICOM Development Fund can assist in Vincent and the Grenadines. And so we approached the CARICOM Development Fund for funding. Now, the Argyle International Airport eventually cost $260 million US, $260 million US. And the contribution of CARICOM Development Fund is $7.3 million US. That is about 2.8% of the total cost of the Argyle International Airport. It may sound to some people that it is a small portion. 2.8% is relatively small. But what is significant and what is important to bear in mind is the stage at which those funds were given to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Project as large of this, which costs about 750 million Eastern Caribbean dollars to build, but its value is about 1.2 billion. So we had to look for different sources, and one source obviously was the CARICOM Development Fund.
Now that we have Argyle International, it makes our vision for where we want to take our country a little bit easier. For instance, the Holiday Express and Suites that's being built in Diamond, and then going forward, the Marriott St. Vincent Resort, which will go on our lovely Moncton Bay on our leeward side.
So really, the role of the CDF in the construction of the airport was not only in terms of the significance of what we financed, but it was also significant in what it induced. It induced a flow of investment into St. Vincent and Grenadines that when the first flight arrived and you heard the persons from St. Vincent who made the trip, when you heard them, how they got on, and then you realize, yes, this is what it is all about.
Additionally, the CDF collaborated with the government of Finland to provide financing of US $750,000 to install a solar power farm at the Argyle International Airport. This solar project will help lower the airport's carbon footprint, address the threats posed by fluctuations in global oil prices, reduce the airport's operating costs, and increase its financial sustainability.
Since the introduction of the facility here, we have saved between $150 and $170 US per annum, depending on the weather conditions. We have recently installed an additional capacity equal to what was in place before, and we are currently going through the process with the local generating company where we can commission that additional capacity, which will double our savings.
We produce on a monthly basis between 70,000 kilowatt hours and 90,000 kilowatt hours per month. This translates to about 40 to 50% of the consumption at the terminal building. And the energy itself is used on all aspects of the airport: the runway lights, cargo building, fire station, terminal.
We have more than one energy, indigenous energy potential. Solar, we have hydro, we have geothermal potential, and even wind potential as well. Getting funding for 2 megawatts, it's a lot of funding. So we had to do it in phases. When the CDF came along, they could have provided funding as a start, because sometimes all you need is a start. CDF was one of the first agencies to come on board in helping us develop this initiative.
In the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it made sense for us to support the Argyle International Airport project, because St. Vincent is one of the few countries, apart from Dominica, that didn't have an international airport. And while some may argue that if you really have a properly functioning integration system, every country does not need to have an international airport, experience has shown us that there is no way that you're going to look at your prospects for development and growth into the future and not have international connectivity. And it makes sense, because if the region has to grow at the rates required to generate incomes and employment to meet the needs of the population, every country needs to have that basic infrastructure that gives them that platform for growth. Looking ahead, CDF is just about to enter into its third cycle of operations. And of course, we are going in armed with the lessons that we've learned from the first two cycles. One of the things that's clear to us is that the size of our programs needs to increase significantly, in line with the magnitude of the needs that countries face. But also, we need to be in a position to provide high levels of concessional financing to the countries because of the debt challenges that they face.
The CDF is dedicated to helping disadvantaged countries, communities, regions, and sectors across member states. Throughout its next programming cycle, the CDF is committed to pursuing new sources of financing for development, in line with its commitment to improving the quality of life of citizens in member states participating in the CSME.